Hello, hobby enthusiasts. Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Art of Hobbiness. I'm Erin, and I'm thrilled to be here with my amazing co-host, Tam.
Oh, thanks, Erin. You're pretty amazing yourself.
Thanks, Tam. We are so excited to dive into today's hobby topic.
Fly tying.
Yeah, we're talking about Tam's hobby that she picked, fly tying.
I'm so ready for fly tying.
Super excited to talk about this too.
Yes.
It seems like a pretty fascinating hobby, Tam. I would like to hear about, if you could remind our listeners to what initially drew you to this hobby.
Yes.
I never even heard of it.
Yes. So my father-in-law, my husband, and my oldest daughter are all fly fishers. So part of my struggle in trying to find hobby is validating that time, right? I felt like my time, if it wasn't used towards benefiting my family, then it was wasted. But now that I'm starting to find that there's more time gaps because my family needs me less, I'm starting to feel like maybe I should put something in there that's more oriented towards me. I thought a good transition would be something that was not quite in the same hobby as they are, like actually being in the river and throwing some flies around, but participating in the sport. So that's what led me inevitably to fly tying.
Interesting.
Yes. Erin, I feel like I'm going to talk a lot and your eyes are going to glaze over. And I want you to know that I feel like that is the appropriate response.
Interesting. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yes. So fly tying. So I told you kind of like how I got to get in there, and how I was trying to find something that would participate with, the family hobby, is what it seems, of fly fishing. It is a world. I got to be honest with you. I don't even think I've fully tapped into the world. I don't think I can confidently say to you today that I am done fly tying. I feel that I've only scratched the surface, and that surface being there are tools. I had to learn what those tools were and how to use those tools. And for those who are experienced fly tyers, I can assure you that a whip finisher is the bane of my existence. It is like the final boss of any video game you've ever played, and I can't beat her. I cannot beat whip finish.
So do you feel like are you feeling happy with this hobby and energized and like that you want to keep going?
Yeah.
It sounds like you do.
Honestly,
yeah.
I really think I'm in a place where I'm like incredibly intrigued. But again, I can't tell if it's because I'm only on the surface or if it's because I will say I made sure that prior to us meeting that I would have a single fly to present to you. And I do have this cute little fly to present to you. Look at how adorable that guy is.
That looks really good.
He's
we
even
definitely
got
need to
some
show
wings.
a little picture of that.
So for those who can't see us, I can describe to you. It's the teeniest, tiniest little guy. It's called an Adam's fly, which again doesn't mean anything to anybody who doesn't fly ties. But in learning like the terminology of this stuff, it just has like cute little wings. It's got this little tail. But to make this, I have to pull in different types of hackle is the word that was used on some of them. And I'm not even sure I'm using all the right words.
So this is like a whole new language.
It's a whole new language. There's anatomy I'm going to learn. There's language I have to learn. And the anatomy is not even just like the anatomy of, so like the whole point of fly tying is trying to get the fly to look like actual bugs and things that like these fish would want, right? And depending on the type of fish you want and depending on the year that you're fishing, depends on what type of fly you're going to use when you're out there.
Wow. I would have never imagined that it was so detailed.
Had no idea. I literally thought it was just, you just picked a pretty one. Like I said, I usually try to push Lennon towards the ones that look, like purpley and disco bally because I was just like, that's pretty. Why would you not?
Yeah.
But no, there's like a whole study around like making sure that you pick the right one that the fish are gonna eat. Because it's that time of year. Was there a hatch of little bugs that just happened on the water? Then that's the type of fly that you probably want to use when you're trying to catch that particular fish.
So is it that you are enjoying the actual hands-on of the hobby, like making it? Or is it more this you're learning this whole, I don't know, subject about fly fishing?
I
don't know.
Honestly, when I first started, because when you talked about your sourdough journey, right? Like you talked about how you almost kind of had to like warm up to get to like the point of actually doing it. I felt like so far, I feel like I'm still in the warm up phase. And I don't think that that's because that's how everyone approaches that. Because I feel like, honestly, like I literally could just Google, I want to make this fly. And interestingly enough, they're called recipes. That it literally gives you a recipe of like, what are the things that you would need to make that fly.
Well, that's helpful.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
In fact, you can even, there's like a local fly tying shop where they actually will sell you like you know how you can go to Schnucks and buy Hamburger Helper. It's got all the stuff you need in it. And then you just buy the hamburger, right? It's essentially like that. Like you
that's a great intro for somebody.
It
really
absolutely
cool.
is. Like
Never
you literally just go pick up a little recipe box and then come home and whip a fly. So like anybody I feel like could just be like, today I'm tying a fly. Google what fly they want to do. Go to their local fly tying shop, buy a little recipe packet that's got all the things in there, and you can whip together a fly. I feel because I feel like I'm so new at it that I feel like I could have.
I mean, that looks pretty good to me. I don't know much about what it's supposed to look like.
Honestly, I look back on it and I'm like, what would you say I did here? I don't even know how to describe what I did, except for to say that shockingly, to make something like this takes like under like 6 minutes.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I mean, it was, I thought that like I would sit down with a fly and I felt like it was going to be like a very timely thing. Like it was going to be me sitting there like really sucked in for like an hour. But honestly, I felt like even with this one being the challenging thing, by the way, I Googled, so that's how I started. I was like, what is the easiest fly to make? And Google was like, mayfly. And I'm fairly certain Google did me wrong. This was not the easiest fly to make. I ended up reaching out to my father-in-law, who has a little bit of expertise in Google flies or
Google flies.
Google flies.
That's a new one, right? That could be.
We can invent a Google fly. That's it. Google flies trademarked. I'm gonna make it. But I actually like went to him and I was like, "Do you know how to make flies?" He's like, "I can make like a little like grub worm kind of thing," and that was way easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. Like again, like you can just bust like one of these guys out in like 3-4 minutes. It's insane how quickly you can do it.
Interesting. That sounds really cool.
It is. I think for me though, what I learned about myself, like we're trying to look at what this hobby does for us personally, right? What I learned is I think I'm somebody who has to know the why behind at least this particular hobby. Like I wasn't satisfied with just whipping a fly together and walking away from it. Like I really got really down into the depths of like learning about like the anatomy of the hook and learning like what the different sizes of hooks mean. And learning about like what type of hackle or gosh, there's more words and I can't even think of what some of them were. They were like more like it's not like a feather. It's more like almost kind of like the downy side of like animals. And like, why are we using animal stuff to create bugs? Like, why am I not just going to a grasshopper and ripping its wings off and then like,
wow, that's a little bit morbid.
Is that why?
Yeah.
It's because we're not trying to decimate the grasshopper population. And so that's why I'm not just taking its wings off and just like wrapping it around. Like, I don't know.
Wow. So yeah, that's so interesting. I would have never guessed that there was so much more to it. So you just like the learning process and
yeah. I think I'm really enjoying like learning. There seems to be I think any hobby you can argue there's a culture around, right? I think any hobby you can. What I'm finding so interesting is the precision that's coming along with, you talk about how precision is like really a skill that you work on a lot. And that's not something I really have in my wheelhouse. I feel like I'm more of a, just kind of fly by the seat of my pants kind of gal.
Yeah, definitely.
And so this really kind of has me like sit down and kind of like focus and really like, so the videos that I was watching, like it's zoomed in on the fly, right? And so I was picturing when I was going to be working on this, that this was going to be at least like $50 sized kind of stuff that I'm working on.
So tiny.
Tiny, Erin, so tiny that I can't do it for long because I start to go cross-eyed.
Yeah.
And like I literally couldn't focus on looking at my child's face whenever they were like pulling me out to be like, hey, Now I'm ready for some
Oh
goldfish.
wow. Yeah. We should I definitely love to see some video on that because I
Yeah.
think that'd be really cool to see.
I think I'm going to have to post some on our socials just so
Definitely.
like people can kind of see. I'll speed them up though. Cause
Yep.
like I said, it takes like, I mean, I feel like it could easily do a fly in under like 6 minutes or so, which I felt like in this, we talk about how like we're starting to have more time, but not like a whole lot of time.
Mhm.
I feel like if I'm sitting there and I'm like, I just want to bust out just one fly real quick, I think I could do it. I think in that 10-minute spare time, I
So
could
there's
sit
not
down.
a lot of tools. I mean, you said, there are some tools,
Yeah.
but you could keep it all pretty handy and get it out easily.
Yeah, honestly, I went to Amazon
Mhm.
and I just picked like there was like a toolkit that I found that just had all the basic tools that you need, and then it also provided some of the ingredients because it's recipes, right? Some of the ingredients to make some flies, and that was enough for me to just like pick it up and just open it up.
I mean, it really seems like a great hobby for someone who likes to do hands-on and low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Is it cost? How costly are the ingredients?
The thing that I pulled off of Amazon was like $85.
Okay.
So like you and I talked about how like a concert ticket, like you could pay that and like go and experience a
Mhm.
concert, and like that in itself is fulfilling, right? So I was like, all right, I'll do 85 to kind of have all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first got it, I was having a little bit of remorse about it because I was like, I'm way over my head. And I even kind of was like, this thing doesn't have all the things I need. This because I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? And then when I started getting into like just like jumping and just going straight into tying a fly, I was like, oh man, this actually has a lot of materials that I could use. This actually was a really good buy. So highly recommend anybody that's going into fly tying to just
Get a
like
basic kit like that.
just
Yeah.
a basic
Yeah.
kit. But again, going into me finding out that I'm somebody that likes the why behind stuff, there's like almost an art to creating your fly tying station.
Yeah.
Like, so we created a Pinterest page, right?
Yep.
Where you and I kind of collaborated and created Pinterest boards surrounding how we researched our hobbies, right? So I did one with the fly tying one, and that I was even kind of I went down this web and Pinterest of people almost kind of create an art craft out of their fly tying tables.
Yeah.
And it's not huge.
Yeah.
Doesn't take up a lot of space.
I mean, it is a craft, right?
It's a craft.
I imagine there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from
Very satisfying.
having that product, finishing that product, and you can do it so quickly. So that's nice.
I think the next thing that I'm going to have to do, and my father-in-law was really good at encouraging me to this, is like getting the fly actually out into like the river and like throwing it out there. And he kept trying to convince me to do it with my first fly. And I was like, no, don't do that to my fly. Like I worked so hard on it. And he's like, well,
That's the point.
yeah, he's like, well, maybe it won't catch on the first try. And then I was like, what? You don't think a fly would eat it on the first try? And he was like, okay, I think I'm going to sit this one out now. You just do what you want to do. It's fine.
Well, he must have thought that it looked like a good enough fly to go fly fishing. That's pretty awesome.
I cannot confirm or deny the intelligence level of a fish. So I don't know if a fish is dumb enough to take something just because it semi looks like food.
Yeah, you have a little bit of advantage since you have family members that do fly fishing. They can actually prototype and try these things out because otherwise you would probably take up fly fishing yourself.
That's actually a good point. Yeah. Unless you've got somebody who can like prove that you're doing
It's working.
something efficient. Cause I mean, like, yeah, it's got to be accurate enough for a fish. But again, I don't know how smart a fish is.
Yeah.
What if it's the stupidest thing ever? And I could have just, I don't know, wrapped some peacock feather around this one time and thrown it in there and he would have liked it.
I mean,
Maybe.
there's so many variables in fishing, I'm sure. So, but I think that's really cool, TM.
Yeah.
So you gave some tips on how to start fly tying.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's a winner for you.
Honestly,
So
I think
you think you're just going to keep working on it and see how it goes?
I do. I
Yeah?
don't think I'm done here. I
Okay.
think, like I said, I feel like I've spent most of this time between this podcast and the last time that we decided on doing this, really just kind of understanding the why behind. And now that I feel like I've got a good, like base, well, a decent base, I feel like I can definitely dive in more with terminology. But I feel like if I kind of keep going with this, I find myself, I can see myself being really excited about trying a new, more challenging fly
Yeah.
and almost kind of like doing like a checklist, like
Yeah.
almost seeing myself like being like, I want to make one of all flies there are, and maybe potentially the
Hey,
Google
it's
fly
like,
that we just invented.
Yeah, it's kind of gamifying it or making it into like a,
Yeah.
it's like bird watching. Hey, checking off all the birds you've seen, you know?
Yes. Bird watching. Interesting. Might have to consider that one in a future one.
So you like checklists.
I do like checklists. Oh, yeah. There we go. So I am a very checklist person.
Yeah.
So that's something for me to kind of keep in mind going forward is I like my checklist. I like checking off. So yeah, I feel like, I feel like as I continue down this, I feel like I'm going to want to even maybe improve my tools. Like even looking at my, like there's like this pole that you kind of hold like the hook on. So like it can hold it steady while you actually tie onto it. I feel like I can even advance my vise is what it's called to make it a little bit more, grow with me as I grow in my, beginner level to more advanced level.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of direction you can go with it and a lot of things you can do and challenges that can like keep occurring, which keeps you interested.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're pretty inspired to keep going.
I
so
am
that's
inspired to
awesome.
keep going. I think I'm going to keep doing that. I do like, obviously we have this, like this whole podcast is about us trying new hobbies, right? Though, so I can't make this it, Erin. Like I'm going to let it live in the background, but I promise you I'm going to try a new hobby.
Well, what are you thinking? Do you have anything else in mind that you want to give a go?
I feel like because this one obviously is still very much like going to live in the background, I feel like the next one I'm going to have to choose is going to be something kind of a little bit more seemingly, in my opinion, less education to kind of get to it maybe. So I'm consistently getting feedback about how my handwriting is terrible.
Oh, really?
Well, I grew up in the generation where we use computers.
Yeah.
I don't need to write things out anymore. I just type it out, right? So it's significantly just terrible. Like my first grader is constantly like, "That's your F," and I'm like, "What's wrong with it?" Leave my F alone. And so I feel like maybe calligraphy would be something that could kind of be beneficial to me, kind of help me. I hear some people do that as a hobby.
Yep.
So I'm going to try that and see if that
I could see how you would like that, especially with your girls. Like they're really into art
Yeah.
and doing.
They're
you could
really
definitely sit down with them and do that if you wanted to. I
That'd be
think
great.
that could be a really fun thing for you guys to do.
Yeah, I think it'd be great
It's
to
right
have
up
them
your
join
alley.
me.
So, I look forward to hearing more about that. And was there anything else you wanted to share about your fly tying?
No, I am going to keep posting. So definitely be sure to check out like our Instagram to kind of see like some of my journey of trying to figure out how to get flies to look as realistic as possible. But no, I think it's going to be living in the background and I'm going to be reporting on it more as I keep getting more advanced in it, hopefully really advanced in it.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you have found something you
Yes,
like. That's so exciting.
A success
So now you've got
story.
podcasting and fly tying.
Podcasting, fly
and I'll work
tying.
on mine. So, but anyway, so we hope everyone enjoyed this conversation about fly tying, something I didn't know anything about. So thanks for tuning in to the Art of Hobbiness for another day. And until next time, happy hobby.
Happy hobbying.
See you later. Bye.